Hey guys, so a lot of people have been asking me to redo this video with all the new heroes that have come out recently, and all of the new heroes, Phoenix, Valkyrie, Dro, Detloff, they have shaken up the tier list a little bit. A lot of this is somewhat based on my speculation, but mostly it's pretty tried and true on who is considered the top. So I'm going to go quickly through the top three of each class. I'm also going to give recommended rune and artifact for each one. And again, this is current as of, today. So if new heroes come out, everything's going to change up a little bit. Okay. Also, this is going to be based on general purpose. Things are going to change a little bit based on whether or not they are 10 star or below 10 star. Some people have significant differences that should be addressed. Some people just shine no matter what star they are. So with that being said, let's get started. First will be Alliance. So number one, far and away, Valkyrie. Let me just say that Valkyrie is so good that she can be 1 to 2 stars below your max. Like if you have a 10-star team, you can use an 8-9-star Valkyrie and she's still going to do amazing damage. It's because her attack snowballs itself when every time she fires her attack. I believe every time somebody dies, her attack goes up. Every time someone dies, someone heals. If you've ever fought one, you've seen that her damage is pretty bonkers. So in a 10-star team, an 8-star Valkyrie will still do quite a bit of damage. In a 10-star Valkyrie, basically the moment she fires her skill, it's all over. With that being said, recommended gear for her. For rune, honestly, she's too slow to really benefit from speed. So I would probably consider just having attack on her. She's not going to go faster than any of the clerics, pretty much ever. She's not going to go faster than most of the assassins, and she'll go before maybe some mages, and that's about it. So I would say don't really bother with speed for her, and I would put an attack rune on her, and then for artifact, the best would be Tears of the Goddess or Star Shards. If you don't have either of those, then just a general attack one like Dragon Blood or one of the specific damage to faction ones is probably fine. Or like Eye of Heaven, something like that. Just attack. Basically, attack, because Valkyrie is that recommended position. She cannot tank even though she's a warrior, so she should be in the front line but not as your tank, maybe a second position. Second is going to be Ultima. Now Ultima is a cleric that doesn't heal. The thing that makes Ultima so strong is his passive is that when he drops below 50% HP, he immediately ups all your attack and drops their defense. Additionally, at 10 stars, when he fires his skill, your backline gains 20% attack. Before 10 stars, he doesn't have this. They just get, I think, 27 speed or 30 speed, something like that. Anyway, so the thing about Ultima is meant to be in front. He's meant to get hit a lot, hopefully to be dropped to 50% HP before all skills are fired, so that at that point all your team immediately is much stronger. He's very good for taking out, for doing good damage to bosses, and for hitting enemies that are a little bit stronger than you, because immediately you are 30% stronger and they are 9 defense weaker. So the thing about Ultima is he needs a very strong team behind him. So early on, if you have a 5-6 star Ultima, you may consider not using him, because unless the rest of your team is super strong to support him, he's kind of a waste of a slot. You would probably consider keeping just regular damage dealers on your team at that point. A recommended rune for him is in front with dodge, and artifact is going to be either a Scorching Sun or like one of the damage reduction ones. So Gift of Creation, Scorching Sun, Bone Grip, one of those. If you don't have those, then probably just go with Boots with HP and speed. That way you can hope to fire his skill. On top of that, Ultima is the fastest unit in the game, because you're taking this speed but you're adding a plus 100 from guild tech, so he is the fastest unit in the game, and most likely he will be firing his skill before anyone else anyway. You kind of want to guarantee that with boots, and also just to give him an HP buff, because it's very nice when he tanks and he doesn't die. So he is very, very good to aim for. I might add that Valkyrie is far beyond him. Ultima is kind of a distant second, but Ultima is also very far ahead of everyone else in Alliance. Alliance just does not have good heroes. So after that spot, really it kind of comes down into you're already really scraping the barrel. Number 3 is going to be Tesla. Now, I know that a lot earlier we used to say that Saw was really good, but basically as the new heroes came out, the more clerics came out, all the new clerics are just really, really good. Saw became useless because the clerics are too fast. So therefore, if Saw's silence is useless, we might as well just give up on him and use someone that will still get his ability off regardless of that, and that is Tesla. Tesla at 10 stars has a 50% chance to stun 4 people. And that's really going to be... Mars actually has the same abilities. 50% chance to stun 4 people. Might be 45% chance. But the point is, Tesla, because of crowd control, because the meta is about crowd control, this is going to be the most useful ability within all of Alliance, or within what's left of Alliance. So with that being said, Tesla will take the 3rd spot. As far as runes and artifacts, honestly, he is also very slow. You could put speed on him just to get his stun off faster, or you can put attack on him. It really doesn't matter at that point. He's not worth investing super heavily into because he's decent, but he's not great. His damage is a little bit low. His speed is a little bit low, and yeah, so you're just kind of using him if you cannot get your hands on Valkyrie or Ultima. He's a filler spot, really. Honorable mention is going to be Mulan as a dodge tank, because at 10 stars, her base dodge is 20%, plus Wanderer Tech is like 30%, plus Familiar is another 20%. So she can get a base dodge, like a true base dodge. Her base dodge can go up to like 70-80% with a dodge rune. So as with that in mind, she's a strong option as a end game dodge tank, because she does no damage. And so you are giving up her spot for really nothing other than tanking, and therefore you'd rather only do that if you know that you have very, very strong heroes behind her. And then the alternative is our favorite Saw Machine, who is sadly relegated to just honorable mention tier. Poor guy. If you've got him, just throw attack on him. He's not going to do anything else. Alright, so next is Horde. So now that Phoenix has been added, Phoenix just blows the competition away. Phoenix is another hero where if you have a 10-star team, you can use an 8-star Phoenix. It doesn't matter. 2 stars below your team, he's still good. As long as he's 6 stars and up, he's amazing. The reasoning for that is when he dies, he has this passive that has a % chance to just stun the rest of their team. So the moment he dies, you get to go crazy on their team for 2 rounds. Additionally, he burns everybody with his skill. Additionally, on top of that, everybody, while he's alive, everybody does extra damage to burning enemies. So basically his whole thing is he wants to die, he wants to get his skill off, and then just watch the massacre happen. It is massacre. Having fought him, an 8-star Phoenix will outdo a 10-star Medusa or Scarlet. He is that good. As far as best rune for him, you have a couple of options. He is also a sacrificial tank like Ultima, so you have really a lot of options with him. I would say if he's the same star level as your whole team, I would give him speed to guarantee that he attacks before the rest of your team, and gets his burn off before everybody else can fire so that they can be faster. If he is a lower star level, if you are using an 8-star Phoenix in a 10-star team, for example, or a 6-star Phoenix in an 8-star team, stuff like that, I would say if he's lower level, then you honestly have your choice of HP or attack. You have to play with it and see how long he survives and see what works for you. As far as artifacts, Tears of the Goddess, period. If not, probably just attack. Phoenix is really so broken that, you know, just by getting lucky with a couple of him, you can instantly have almost a top tier competitor team, and it's pretty scary how strong he is. Number 2 is going to be Medusa. Now, before it used to be Scarlet, but then Medusa got buffed, and so she got changed so that her regular attack, every attack she does now has a chance to petrify people. And so with that being said, with again the meta being crowd control, now you always want everybody with a hard crowd control attack to have speed and she is no exception. So what she does is she has a chance to petrify everybody. She guarantees bleed and poison damage, so instantly she has good synergy with anybody that does that. So Aiden, Centaur, now Detlaf, now Freya, all of that. She works really, really, really great with Freya. So if Freya goes first and petrifies, then immediately she does 60% extra damage to anyone that's already petrified. So if you're using Medusa with Freya, and you use Medusa with speed, then Freya needs to have speed and, you know, stuff like that. So I would say that best rune for Medusa is going to be speed. Best artifact is I'm not going to say Tears of the Goddess, because if you have Tears of the Goddess, you'd put it on someone you'd put it on someone like Freya. So for her, I would just stick with Dragon Blood. Really, Dragon Blood is going to be the best artifact for a lot of people. You could consider putting boots on her for extra speed, but I think that you really sacrifice a lot of damage for that, because she is primarily a damage dealer, and therefore you should consider using a regular damage artifact on her. So, third place is going to be Scarlet. Scarlet's another sacrificial tank like Phoenix. She really... Oh my gosh. She really is a sacrificial tank. She exists to poison people, and that's really what she's best at. You put her up front to get hurt, to poison everybody, because every time she gets hit, she poisons them, and then when she dies, is it this one? When she dies, she poisons everybody. Her skill poisons everybody. Her regular attack poisons everybody. So she is just doing buttloads of damage all day long. At 10 star, you might consider putting her in the back line and not as a sacrificial tank, because she will die probably before she gets her skill off at 10 stars. People tend to hit really hard at that point, so keep that in mind. Best rune for her, best artifact for her is just attack, attack, attack. Attack rune, attacks artifact, it's fine. She's so much fun to use. Now, as far as honorable mention, some people argue that Bloodtooth is stronger than Scarlet. I think that Bloodtooth is very good. He's only really good at 10 stars, whereas Scarlet is good at all stars. And so therefore being niche, he only really shines versus bosses and stuff like that. I think that gives the edge to Scarlet. You know, there's room for argument on both sides. Personally, I've done so well with my Scarlet, and I've also done well with Bloodtooth, but I haven't used Bloodtooth that long. But I really think that Scarlet shines in many more situations than Bloodtooth does, and so I give the edge to her. Bloodtooth, his best thing is at 10 stars, is when he starts to heal himself with his skill. And so as people die and his attack goes up, he starts to heal for more and more. And he really starts to snowball as far in terms of long battles. So he starts hitting really, really hard. I know all the damage went down and everything, so it's really hard to get a gauge for what this means, but he can critical for over 100,000 damage in one hit right now. That's after the damage nerf and everybody, went down 75%. So that means that pre-damage nerf, he was doing like 500,000 damage. That is a lot of damage. He hits really, really, really hard. So that's why he very much excels in Den and Planet Trial and like bosses. But I think as far as PvP goes, general purpose goes, I think Scarlet is better. Best rune for Bloodtooth, I would say Defense Break, because as an assassin, that's what he excels in. He tears up warriors real quick, so if they have like a really, really tanky Abyss Lord or a Minotaur or something like that, again, this is like in Den or something, he will tear them up. So he does best with Defense Break. As far as rune, or artifact, I mean, really, again, any damage artifact. On that note, actually, I think Medusa shines with Blood Metal. Some of the... Okay, when I say damage artifact, I'm gonna, assume that by damage we're gonna also include the faction-specific one that is damage plus skill damage. So like this one, attack plus hit rate plus skill damage on it. So, if this one is better than Dragon Blood, and Dragon Blood is better than everything else, and so on. So next we're going to go on to Elf. Number 1 is Dro. Dro, the new hero, takes off as number 1. The reasoning for that is she was added as the anti-Shoot Mel. She is 1 speed faster than Shoot Mel, I think. Her other thing is her skill has an 80% chance to stun clerics. And her other thing is when she gets hit down to less than 50% chance, she silences everybody for 1 round. So she is very strong defensively. She's pretty strong offensively. There's a lot of choice or a lot of comparison between Luna and Dro, who is better. Dro surprisingly puts up some pretty high damage numbers. She's also the best team healer in the game at this point. So as far as an all-around package in counting defense and offense, I give the edge to Dro. She is very rare, so a lot of people don't have her. I've still never seen one higher than 9 stars. I'm sure people on servers with some massive whales have seen them, but she puts up some pretty strong damage. So she's just very good to have. Best rune is probably going to be Speed, and because she's already so fast, you would use an attack artifact on her. Alternatively, you could use an attack rune on her and a speed artifact, whichever one you wish. I kind of like the speed rune because 70 speed on the rune is very, very good. Number 2 is going to then go to Luna. Now, Luna, when 10 stars first came out, used to be like super, super amazing because her skill at 10 stars gives her 80% damage reduction. And that's crazy. People are like, oh, let's use her as a tank. Now, you can use her as a functional tank at 10 stars, but the problem is that if she gets controlled, like if they silence her before she can fire her skill off, she gets killed. It's as easy as that. So she's a very situational tank, and she doesn't do super well in the current meta. So I can't really recommend a Luna tank at this time. But also Luna, even though she's second best here, I would say that if she is only 5 stars, then Centaur is better. Luna must be 6 stars or higher. The reasoning for that is because her skill right now has 50% chance to silence. At 5 stars, it's only 15%, 1-5. So at 5 stars, I wouldn't even use a Luna, to be honest. If you get your first Luna, then you better hurry up and buy that second one from the Soul Shop so you can 6-star her and take her higher. Because at 5 stars, she's not doing much. Because Luna's chance to... first of all, she's pretty fast on her own. So because she has such a high chance to silence people, you need as much speed as you can get on her. Put a speed rune on her, put a speed artifact on her. The Queen's Crown is a great one. HP, speed, and crit damage, or crit rate, I think. Alternatively, you could put Tears of the Goddess on her. She does very well with that. By the way, for people that I don't mention Tears of the Goddess, it's not that important. It's really only for people that have a hard crowd control move that really function well with it. Third place is going to be Centaur. Now, Centaur is our favorite damage dealer. He's still very strong. He works great with Scarlet. He works great with Medusa. He now actually works even better on his own because they changed him so that he actually so that his skill now adds poison. It used to not add poison anymore, and now it does. So now immediately he can start doing extra damage to enemies, even if you have him on his own without a good teammate to poison for you. So just with that alone, his damage went up. But the thing is, because the meta has evolved away from pure damage being the end-all be-all, so therefore, since all he has is poison, he doesn't have any of the harder crowd controls, you know, stun, silence, petrify. He ends up taking a back seat. So he's still very good. He's still a top tier hero. He still does tons and tons of damage. He's still great versus friends bosses, guild bosses. He does boatloads of damage. But against a team that's heavy on crowd control, he ends up dying very badly. So because he can do nothing back to them. He can't stop them from stopping him. And so he's good, but he is third place. Honorable mention is going to be Vegvasir, and Vegvasir, as I've always said, is probably the second best tank in the game behind Monkey King. Oh, you know what? I never even noticed he had a giant mohawk at 10 stars. That's hilarious. He is an amazing tank. He must be 6 stars plus so that he gets this ability that when he drops below 50% damage, he heals himself a ton. For this reason, he is the best tank to have, the second best tank to have, for he rocks Expedition. He's great in Legion to troll people and time them out because he heals so much. On top of that, he has great freeze, 48% chance, or wait, he has if he crits, he has a 48% chance to freeze at 4 random people. This happens more often than you think because his passive means that every time he gets hit, he gains crit rate. So his crit rate becomes very, very high. So he's a very, very strong tank. Now, the problem with this is endgame you do need a tank. Vegvasir is a great one to have that's not as hard to get as some of the rarer heroes. However, by using Vegvasir, you're giving up your Luna, your Drow, your Centaur. So you really have to make a lot of choices there. A lot of people ultimately end up using Verthandi as a tank, and really that's not ideal, but I guess it's the best you got. But if you've got a Vegvasir, he's never get rid of him because he will shine so much in Expedition and Legion. And if you can use him as your main tank while you're using him, you'll see that he really stays alive forever. And his freeze is nothing to sneeze at. So he's a very fun guy to have. But remember, he must be 6 stars or higher, otherwise he does not gain his healing passive, and at that point he's really nothing special. So, after Elf is Undead. Now, no surprise, Shudmel Shuttles, she is number 1. Far and away. Now, I'm going to start this by saying Undead is actually very tricky. There's a lot of room for wiggle room in terms of who's good, who's better, who is really the best. Don't take my ranking as like to be super serious, because there is plenty of argument based on, you know, your personal experience and all that to say who can be better. This is how I think it should go, but who knows. So the thing about Shudmel, again, third fastest unit in the game behind Drow and Ultima. The thing that makes Shudmel so amazing is her basic attack has a 50% chance to silence 4 people. Basic attack. And if she's faster than everybody, she can silence up to 4 people on round 1. This means that she can easily counter teams that have Tears of the Goddess. It means that she can just be a humongous roadblock or a nuisance to anybody. So even if you're fighting like a 10-star Valkyrie, if you can use Shudmel plus something else to control Valkyrie for the entire match, you'll tear them up. So she really can be the difference in between winning and losing a very hard battle. The downside is she's kind of squishy. She does die very quickly. Her healing is still pretty good otherwise. So with Shoot Mel, the whole goal, everything is based around this. This is her entire deal, is to keep people silenced. With that in mind, rune and speed, you're just gonna want speed. Just speed, speed, speed. Make her go as fast as possible. Get that regular attack off as fast as possible. Oh, I forgot. For Centaur, just use attack. He's not fast enough to need anything. And for Veg Vizier, use Queen's Crown as an artifact, or you can use any defense damage reduction artifact. Sorry. Yeah, so just speed, speed, speed. Get her as fast as possible. Get her to silence. And then when you run into things in Den and Planet, all you just gotta do is keep trying over and over and over until she lands that lucky silence and turns the battle for you. She actually prefers to be silenced, so she does not want Tears of the Goddess. You always would rather her use her regular attack, because her skill does not silence. So she's amazing to have. Also, and remember, she's available on the advanced wheel, so you can try to get her there. Number 2. Okay, so here is where it starts getting into heavy debate. First of all, number 2, Hester, is only at 10 stars. At below that, Reaper is better. Let me edit that, actually. So the thing is that at 10 stars, Hester's skill gains the ability to increase skill damage of the whole team. So that, combined with a decent chance to petrify the entire backline, I think gives her the edge over Reaper. And so Hester is a very good damage dealer. She's a very much a glass cannon. She still has one of the highest attacks in the game. So no matter how you slice it, she's a very strong damage dealer, which is funny considering she's a cleric that doesn't heal and she only does damage. But we'll count that aside. So she's fast as a cleric. She has Petrify, and she buffs the team. So all that together means she has great team synergy in pretty much any team, and she's just going to be very strong. So I would say that for her rune, you might want to put HP on her, just to keep her alive. And for artifact, you probably can put any attack artifact. She's fast enough to get her skill off. It's not that important that she goes first, because it's only the backline that she petrifies. You'd rather leave the really speedy stuff to everyone else that has a full team, petrify, silence, whatever. So you can go well with attack rune on her, attack artifact on her. You can use an attack rune on her as well, but beware that she will die very, very quickly if you do so. That's kind of her one weak point. With that being said, I would put her at number 2 at 10 stars. If she is not 10 stars, then I would have to give the edge to Reaper. Now here's the funny thing about Reaper, is that he has no crowd control. He can silence warriors, but in the current meta, warriors are kind of dying out. You'll still see a smattering of Nameless King. If people have Valkyrie, you'll see a lot of Valkyrie. Unfortunately, he is slower than Valkyrie, so he can't really do anything about it. So if Valkyrie equips speed stuff, Reaper can't beat her, therefore he won't even bother. Now the thing that makes Reaper still so good is, first of all, his skill does amazing damage. If he gets a skill off, he does you're gonna see his damage go crazy. Plus he's got natural defense break, so like by default he hits hard. He hits really hard. Now the thing that makes Reaper amazing though is that when he dies, he hits everybody for, a lot of damage. So that's a lot of times it actually can be a very strong clinching factor to have him die. This ability, he does not have it at 5 stars, so even though Reaper's so good, you cannot use a 5-star Reaper. He's going to be terrible for you because he lacks this ability. So Reaper must be 6 stars or higher. He's actually very common to get. He's very often in Soul Shop and rewarded from stuff, so I would say, he's one of the easier undeads to level. One of. As far as runes and stuff, I would just put pure attack on him. I would make it so that, the whole game is based on you're playing the odds, you're wondering who's going to get stunned, who is not, who's going to get silenced, who is not. So with that in mind, you want to maximize getting this ability off, so just raise his attack as high as you can, and then as soon as he dies, he just does all this extra damage to you. Kind of the same as Scarlet, although it's not poison, but it's a lot of damage coming from him. So if he gets controlled, he gets killed, but if he doesn't, then you're going to see his numbers near the top of your team. So this is where it starts to get, I mean, all of these are a little bit controversial. Boomin has also rated Detlef to be basically the same as Aiden, which I agree with, because Aiden is an assassin that heals himself, does bleed, does extra damage. The downside is, Aiden's skill actually hits 3 random people. Detlef only hits 1, so I would give Aiden the edge over Detlef. The only thing that Detlef's really got going for him is, I don't think he's really got anything going for him. He's just absolutely nothing special. His anti-heal is okay in some cases, but I don't think it's ever going to make a battle. So Aiden is good because he's got bleeding, so he synergizes pretty well with Medusa. If you really want to have an assassin, really it comes down to either the Heaven and Hell assassins or Bloodtooth and Aiden. Aiden's not bad, and supposedly he does put up very high damage numbers, but just by nature of him being an assassin, his HP is lower. He only heals on his skill. Wait, I think he heals when people die. Yeah, he heals when some people die, but I don't think it's a major thing, and I think that I would really rather have Reaper's all around damage than Aiden. If you think I'm wrong, you're welcome to comment and tell me why you think I'm wrong, but I personally don't see Aiden being more useful in a general purpose team than Reaper. There are probably situations where Aiden shines. Maybe versus like Friends Boss, he's going to be better than Reaper, that's for sure. But aside from that, I really think Reaper is better in most situations. And the same is going to go for Detlef. Detlef is really just not going to do anything special outside of maybe Friends Bosses. And even though Detlef is a mage, he basically has the skill set of an assassin. So if you want to level an assassin and don't have assassin flags, he's a decent option. Poor Detlef. Okay, so now we're going to go into Heaven and Hell. Now, Heaven and Hell, there are only 4 rare units, and one of them is always easy to get. So in Heaven, Verthandi is very easy to get with feathers, so she's going to be the 1 10-star that you can almost guarantee having. With that being said, number 1 is definitely going to go to Lindbergh. Now, very few people actually have a 10-star Lindbergh. A lot more people have Mars, probably because Mars has been offered as a reward more often. But Lindbergh is amazing. His speed is high. Before Cleric speed, he and Zexanoth are the highest speed units in the game. After Cleric speed, well, they're slower than most of the Clerics, but he's still really, really, really fast. And his HP is super high. So his thing is he just guarantees to stun 2 of their backline. That's it. And he's super strong. He gains energy every time someone dies, so he's just going to be throwing out his skill left and right. As he gets weaker, his damage goes up. He's just really... And he cannot be stunned. That's really one of his shining points. So Lindbergh doesn't even counter... You can't counter a Lindbergh with a Lindbergh. You need something else to counter him. So he's so good that he's really just amazing. That 100% stun on the backline is just crazy. It's just crazy. As far as runes and artifacts, I would give him a defense break rune, because as an assassin, that's just what they use. They function really well with that. For artifact, I mean, Tears of the Goddess if you got it. Otherwise, I think he'll do fine with just any general damage dealing artifact. He doesn't really need speed. You can actually go ahead and just put a speed artifact on him, but I don't think he needs it. He's so fast that he'll be faster than most people anyway. So it's just something to think about. He's so strong. Now, number 2 is Mars. Now, Mars comes with a caveat because at 9 stars, where are you, Mr. Mars? Here. At 9 stars, his ability does not stun. At 10 stars, his ability adds, it hits 4 people and it has a 60% chance to stun them. So at 10 stars, Mars becomes absolutely amazing. So, but even with that in mind, I would probably still give Lindbergh the edge without anything, but if you add Tears of the Goddess to Mars, then he is number 1 far and away. He's probably the best unit in the game to use Tears of the Goddess on. Him and Freya are the top to use it on. So him with that is just... So basically his damage is high, his speed is pretty good, his speed is pretty high, he has a very good crowd control in his skill, and then when he dies he comes back to life and, you know, hits again pretty hard. So Mars is just, when you talk about like the ideal team right now, you're actually going to include both Mars and Lindbergh and throw away your Aura, because they're both so good, so much better than pretty much everyone else in other factions that, you know, minus Phoenix and Valkyrie right now, that you would like to have both of them. They both offer so much to you. If you were the lucky ones to have a Tears of the Goddess, Mars with that is going to be like the key to getting through a lot of planet trials and stuff. Now, don't let that stop you from making him. If you don't think you can make him 10 stars, he's still good, but if you've only got like a 7 or 8 star Mars, you are better off using someone else. You are better off using Lindbergh, you are better off using Verthandi. Mars really only starts to shine at 10 stars because of that stun ability. So with that being said, now between Verthandi and Nameless King, there is argument over who is better. I feel that Verthandi offers a little bit more synergy, more team composition options, more versatility than Nameless King. So I give her the edge to be number 3. So at 10 stars, she gains the ability to raise the true damage of your team by 20%. And that is just huge. That's huge. Plus, she reflects damage when you hit her. It's only 30%, 35%, but it's, you know, better than nothing. And she heals herself. So Verthandi is a favorite as a tank for this option. Better than Rillia, because Rillia just doesn't have the attack to back anything up, and Rillia doesn't have the life or the skill set to do anything other than be a tank. So Verthandi is the favorite for tanks for end game, because if you can't get your hands on a Monkey King, it's gonna have to be Verthandi as like the best possible tank for you. So she's just very good in that role. Best rune for her is, if you're using her as your tank, dodge. If you're using her as a damage dealer, then attack. There's argument for speed, but I don't think so. I don't think she needs it. I think she would rather just have attack so that she can heal harder, or heal for more and hit harder. That being said, let's go to Nameless King. The thing about Nameless King is his damage is through the roof. Really, it is through the roof. If you fought one and you weren't able to silence him, his damage can almost reliably be number 1, top of the team. The problem is, he can be silenced, he can be stunned, and then he becomes dead. So he's a warrior, he does a lot of damage, he cannot tank. Do not try to use him as a tank. If you have him, don't feel bad using him, he's still really, really good. I would just rather have the other Heaven Heroes right now for the options that they give you in terms of team thing. He does good with, you know, just general attack runes and artifacts. However, actually, as an artifact, he's probably one of the exceptions that he would do very good with the silence, with the artifact that gives 100% silence resist, because you want to give him as many chances as you can to get his skill off and start getting his damage going. Because his skill puts a crit mark on them, and then, you know, when somebody crits on them, it does damage and adds more crit marks and all that. So he really needs to get his skill off to get everything steamrolling with his damage, and then But if he's controlled, he does nothing. Now, this is very similar to Reaper, who I still rated highly, but Reaper at least can do damage even if he doesn't get to do anything. Even if Reaper dies, he still gets his death damage off. Nameless King has no such option. So with that being said, if he gets controlled, he's trash. He offers really nothing else. If he gets stopped for even like a third of the match, his damage output gets dropped by 30%. That's a significant hit to him. And so, you know, he's great for pure damage, but he just does not have the synergy and options that the other ones have, because they all have crowd control or team buffs. Oh, good old Nameless King. So now we'll go on to Hell. Hell has changed a little bit. We used to think Chesia was far and away number one. Unfortunately, as the meta has evolved, her rank just falls and falls and falls. So you can see she's fourth. So number one is going to be Freya, because Freya, she's fast. She's very fast. She has a full team attack skill that has a 30% chance to petrify, plus drain energy. Plus, when she petrifies someone, her attack goes up like crazy. So if she petrifies all 6 people, her attack goes up 300%. So she can snowball very quickly in fights. Plus, her regular attack has a very high chance to petrify, 55%. It's pretty high. So in terms of like all-around usefulness, she is the best. Hands down of all the Hell. She loves Tears of the Goddess. She loves having... If you do not have Tears of the Goddess, she loves having speed. Because, like Luna, she wants to petrify people as fast as possible, and that's going to up the rest of her attack and just have her do a whole lot of damage. I've had fights where Freya out-damaged my whole team. Like, she just went crazy, and she just put out the most damage of everybody. It's not that uncommon. And luckily, she is the easiest to get of all the Hell, because she's regularly available in the Soul Shop. Plus, she's given away at level 100 right now. Plus, if King's Orders ever has Hell, it's her. So she is relatively easy to get. And, you know, she's very, very strong. Number 2 is going to go to Monkey King. Now, the thing about Monkey King is, I use a Monkey King instead of a Freya because Monkey King has the added ability of being the best tank in the game. When he dies, he comes back with 100% HP. So this HP, which is already pretty high, gets doubled, effectively doubled. And not only that, anybody that hits him has an 86% chance to take damage back. This is not a small number. This is a significant amount of damage that they take back every time they hit him. So if you are in a battle where Monkey King is doing a lot of heavy tanking for you, you will see his damage be at the top of your team. It's really crazy to watch. His skill is no joke either. It's just decent damage to the back of the team. Plus, he does have a chance to petrify, which is very low, not reliable, but is there as an option. So Monkey King really ends up being the best tank, but in terms of just general purpose, because you can survive with a Verthandi tank, you don't necessarily need a Monkey King tank. So if you want to go that way, then you can trade Monkey King for a Freya and, you know, wreak all sorts of havoc. Freya is that good. As far as runes and artifacts, there are options here. I prefer to use attack on him to guarantee that when they hit him, he hits back as hard as possible. Alternatively, if he is your tank and you don't have anyone in front of him, you can easily use an HP rune on him just to make him last as long as possible. Because the longer he lasts, the more return damage he does, and, you know, the more in the way he is. So really, he can be played however you want him to be played. He can fill any role in any position. There is no best setup for him, but based on what he is, he makes a very good tank. Number 3, this is kind of sad, but I give number 3 to Zexanoth, who is really good on paper, but in practice is just not amazing. He's nothing special, but the best thing that he does is when people hit him, he drops their energy. Let's see, which one is that? This is every time they hit him, they lose 10 energy. That means that if you put him up in front as the tank, nobody on the other team except for their first person will be firing their skill on round 2. Unless you... So this is the stupid thing, right? If they hit him, they lose energy. But if you have someone like Luna, Shudmel, Medusa that hits 3 people with their regular attack, you give them back the 10 energy, and then they get to fire their skill anyway. So this is really kind of useless, especially in high-end teams that are using people like those. Most teams will have Luna or Shudmel or Medusa. So in that sense, Zexanoth just is not great. But, I mean, he still has a regular chance to... He's immune to silence, so he can get his skill off against silence-heavy teams. He has... His regular attack has a 60% chance to silence people. So it's not like he has bad abilities. He's very useful. It's just that, this isn't that great, just defense break. It's just that this 10 energy ends up, in practice, being not as good as advertised. It's a great idea, it just falls short. Now, that is gonna... in terms of gear for him, I don't even know how you use him. Probably best is still position 1 as a tank, in which case you would probably put either a dodge rune on him, or... No, I would put a dodge rune on him if he's tanking. Otherwise, I would put probably a defense break rune on him if you're using him as a damage dealer. Gear-wise, I don't think it matters. I really don't think it matters. If you're using it as a tank, you use a damage reduction rune. Otherwise, you use an attack rune. Simple as that. Number 4 is going to be Chesia. Now, Chesia used to be really good with Tears of the Goddess, and she still is. The downside is that if you have a Tears of the Goddess, you would really much rather use it on Freya. It benefits Freya so much more because of Freya's Petrify. So Chesia is the same thing as Nameless King is. She's very high damage. She's very good damage output, but she just falls short because she can't do anything other than damage. She has nothing else going for her. Every time she fires her skill, she gets stronger. If she ever gets her skill off twice, which is basically impossible without Tears of the Goddess because she doesn't gain energy the normal way. She only gains energy when other people fire skills, and she needs 8 people to fire their skill before she can fire hers, and by that point she's probably dead. So she's great for damage if she can get 2 skills off, but since that's almost never going to happen, she ends up being terrible. And even if she has Tears of the Goddess, even if you have so many that you put one on her, I still wouldn't put her above Freya or Monkey King because she doesn't offer what they offer. She still has no crowd control, she still has no defensive options, and she doesn't do anything that Freya and Monkey King do. So sadly, Chesia falls to 4th. That does not mean that you should fodder her. That doesn't mean you should use her up to make a Freya or Monkey King. She's still rare. She has the potential to be buffed and made good. Keep her around. Maybe don't level her yet, but don't really use her if you can use someone better. Gear-wise, unfortunately, she's a little bit slow, so maybe you can use speed, but honestly, when you're using Chesia, I don't think it matters. You're only ever going to get your skill off once. You might as well use attack on her. So that is my ranking for the new heroes, or for the new tier list of heroes. Hopefully that helped. Remember, everything is based on having an entire team of even star levels. If you're using, a high tier character or a low tier character at higher stars, maybe they're still going to be better for you. Just ultimately, these are the heroes of each faction that you're going to be... Oh my god, I just realized that I have top 3 heroes of each class written, and that's not right at all. It's supposed to be faction. My bad. So these are the heroes that you ultimately want to aim for. These are the good ones. If you can get them, be happy. But remember, they're not good in all situations. They still require a little bit of teamwork. They still require good gear to really shine and all of that. So hopefully I hope this helps you put together a good team. Remember that the best Aura still is a Unity team, but it's not something that you need to aim for until you're actually in the 9 to 10 star level. So it's okay to just mash and get as many higher tier characters as you can and have no Aura. You know, if you get 2 Elf, 2 Heaven, and 2 Hell even, that's perfectly fine, just as long as they're all good characters. Never ever sacrifice a good character slot just to have Aura. So, hope this helps, and see you next time.